Good evening, everybody. My name is James Hurley, and I am the only Fulbright Scholar in Northern Ireland for the entire academic year. And I am privileged to call Belfast home and this particular building my office. So with that, I've been asked to speak briefly, and I promise I will be brief, about the importance of youth engagement in politics. But I do think it is important to unpack these terms first. By youth, we refer to all of us here this evening, between 16 and 25. Easy enough. Engagement, to me, in the context of political engagement, is an ongoing process of participation and pressure. There are many tangible actions of political engagement each of us, on either side of 18, can take. Since arriving in Belfast in September, I have protested outside of City Hall. I've wrote to my elected representatives about forthcoming legislation. I've asked questions of the Lord Mayor, read the newspapers, and regularly challenged my friends on their views, and they, in turn, have challenged me. While we definitely do not always agree, it is more about the process than the outcome. For when we're forced or challenged to articulate our own values, we not only learn more about the values of others, but our own. And we usually become better thinkers and speakers in the process. And that leads me to politics. And there's certainly a reason I left this for last. I often think trying to define politics is like shooting a moving target. Truth be told, I'm willing to acknowledge that there are as many definitions to this term as there are people in the room tonight. And that's great. It's absolutely wonderful, in fact. My own definition of politics is derived from the German thinker and philosopher Hannah Arendt. Arendt argues that politics is a cultural achievement rather than a social necessity. It includes a careful maintenance of institutions that allow people to discuss the world as they see it and the way they think it should be. These institutions, particularly here in Northern Ireland and in my home country of the United States, were hard-won and took time to build and are constantly being refined. It's our obligation as citizens to help in that process and shape how tomorrow is going to look. We have to live in it. Right, so now that I've packed youth, engagement, and politics, I have the daunting task of addressing why it's important to become engaged. No small task, given that everybody here this evening is already engaged to a certain extent by the very nature of walking through that door. I think it's important to recognize, like politics does, that we are not hermits. Our work, our failures, and indeed our successes are as much our own fault as they are those of the people, the ideas, and the experiences that shape us. We must understand our work as a compilation, an addition, a response, or an imitation even of the work done before us. As we continue to learn, study, grow, we must remember that we cannot take the experience of learning apart in order to take it away, for it doesn't belong to us to take away. Our engagement with our school, our university, our workplace, and family is an example of our indebtedness to the past. Our roles as newspaper editors, campus ministers, club or society officers, member of sports teams, demand and challenge us to build on the work of those that have come before us. And our actions can only make sense as part of a larger picture. When we author a paper, we take one idea from one scholar, and we build on it with an idea from another. The process continues with countless many ideas until we produce a final paper to submit to our teachers, cemented with our own thoughts. But to whom do we credit that paper? Is it simply ourselves? We are indebted to far more. We are indebted to our parents, many of whom worked with their hands so we could work with our minds. We are indebted to our families, who helped us along the way. We are indebted to our friends, who have helped shape our opinions and perceptions. Lastly, we're indebted to our society that has both created and advanced a system that encourages intellectual growth and, of particular importance this evening, provides for political participation. How can we pay back that debt? To answer this question, I'll call upon a source that we all draw from in learning how to live, the movies. In the film Philadelphia, the main character, Joe Miller, a civil rights attorney, wins a case for his client dying of AIDS and suffering discrimination at work as a result. By overcoming his fear of homosexuality and winning an employment discrimination case, Miller not only gave back to himself, but gave back to his law school and gave back to his society. While his earning from the case can be counted and his influence as an attorney might be measured, his contribution to society cannot be quantified. By using our talents, our skills, and our differences to leave the world a little better, we share in the gift that society has bestowed upon us. And that's the crux of why we all need to be involved in politics. We need to use our talents, our skills, and our differences to impact the world in which we live, and hopefully leave it a little bit better than when we found it. We recognize it's not about what we can earn, but rather what we can contribute. Politics provides one such platform. What are we going to do in order to give back to our families, our friends, our institution, and our society that has given us so much? And there's many answers to that question as there are people in this room tonight, and that's fine. In fact, it's wonderful. It's through our diversity of ideas and thoughts that we will be able to achieve that contribution and become the shoulders on which future youth might stand. So let us all recognize that indebtedness and let us all respond to it in our own way. Politics as a profession might be the way forward for some, but certainly political engagement and participation is a part of all of our lives, no matter where we end up. Teachers or technicians, mechanics or masons, dentists or doctors. Voting is necessary but not sufficient to meet the high threshold of engagement. And I recognize that being politically engaged can be difficult. We have coursework to prepare for, sports games to play, friends to relax with, dreams to pursue, and maybe even some dates to go on. In short, we have a whole lot of learning to do about ourselves, about each other, and about life. And it's tough, I recognize that. But if we want to impact and shape our future, we must participate. Now, my advice about engaging with politicians and in life generally is to be clear, concise, and precise. The power of language and the power of ideas have shaped the world we exist in, and it's our ideas and our language that will shape tomorrow. Drawing my comments to an end, I'm reminded of words that Bill Gates Sr. expressed. The world is run by those that show up. I'd likely suggest Mr. Gates would agree that you cannot have your voice heard, your opinion considered, if you fail to even articulate that idea or share your insight. While you're certainly welcome to this building at any time, and I do encourage you to do so, you can also engage in politics in your own local communities. While that might mean writing a letter to the editor of your local paper, it could also mean running for school or university council. It could mean participation in youth parliament or in writing to your MLA. The point being, the apparatus is there, and it's up to you, no, it's up to us to seize the opportunity and make our collective and individual youth voices heard. In conclusion, I return to something I said in passing earlier. By the very fact that you're here this evening, I acknowledge that we're all engaged, which makes my comments particularly challenging to deliver. But for each of us here tonight, I'm confident that we know 3 peers who are not engaged in politics. They feel disillusioned, that their opinion doesn't count, that their vote is only one of many, that politicians don't care about youth issues. So my challenge to each of you tonight is to talk to 3 peers throughout the course, the remainder of this week and the weekend, and encourage them to increase their political participation. That means a simple, hey, did you see the election results of the QUB Student Union election last week? Or what do you think about that proposed legislation? Or, hey, can I offer you a ride to the polling station on May 7th? We can all make a difference in our own ways, and I'm confident that the future will be shaped by our own values, thoughts, and concerns. But we have to articulate our ideas if we ever hope for them to be heard. It's imperative we show up not only to the voting booth, which is important, but also to the conversation. Thank you very much, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.